Perspective is super tricky. Just when we think we understand it, we realize we don't. When we learn something new, we realize that there is so much stuff that we do not know. But I came up with this really fun challenge to kind of test how well we understand or intuitively understand perspective. So let's check that out. Hey, Walter here, and I have a fun exercise to test how well you see perspective. Try the test, see how well you did, and then come back in a few months or a week or whatever, try it again and see if you actually do any better. Now, I created a simple Photoshop file that you can use to download and take the test, but it's really simple to set it up on your own. It's something quick that you could do before you do your warm-ups or as your warm-ups before you start drawing for the day. So let's go ahead and see how we set the test up. Okay, so create a new file. I'm gonna make it wide, 1920 by 1080, but you can use whatever you want. The wider is gonna be better though for doing perspective and the horizon and all that stuff. So create a layer called horizon. Draw your horizon line in. Want to say that you should understand perspective a little bit to take this test. If you're new to perspective, check out some of my other perspective videos or other videos that are on YouTube, and then come back to this. You'll kind of need to know about perspective to really understand what's happening here. All right, so we have a horizon line. Now create a new layer called guides. You're gonna wanna draw your vanishing point and draw your radiating lines in red. Now lower the opacity of that and create another layer called true boxes. And draw some boxes in here using your vanishing point lines. Draw the boxes in blue. All right, now we create another layer. We're gonna call that one test boxes, and we're gonna trace over the front of all the boxes that we just drew, and we're gonna do it in black. Okay, now pick one or two of the boxes or however many of them and just trace the box in completely. Okay, now turn off your guide layer and your true boxes layer. Create yet another layer called my boxes. I know it's a lot of layers, but it's pretty simple. So create another layer called boxes. Now using the test boxes as a guide, try to fill in the incomplete boxes. You can put X's on the front of your boxes so you know which ones you drew and which ones were already drawn. Okay, now once you have them all drawn in, look at all of the boxes as a whole and fix any of the ones that don't look correct to you. Once you've finished, turn the true box layer back on. Now compare your boxes to those boxes. Don't really worry about the length of the box. You're more worried about how the lines taper towards the vanishing point. How close were your lines to the true boxes? What directions did your lines skew? For me, I tend to skew my lines too wide. I don't taper them quickly enough, so it makes boxes seem like wider or that they expand towards the back. So try a few of these. You can try 2-point or even 3-point. I suggest just starting off with 1-point, mostly because they're really quick to set up. 2-point takes a little bit longer to set up, and then obviously 3-point or curvilinear or whatever craziness you want to get into is going to take longer than just doing 1-point. Now this test isn't meant to make you get better at perspective. It's just a fun way to see how well you intuitively see perspective. Now it could also help you guide your studies depending on what you do or don't see correct. Here's my simple test file to get your feet wet if you don't want to set up your own tests. There are only 5 tests in here. I have 3 1-point perspective tests and then a 2 and a 3-point perspective test. Now these can be kind of tricky, especially the 2-point and the 3-point, so don't get discouraged. It's more of a fun challenge, a fun exercise. You're not getting graded on this. No one's gonna see it, so make sure you have fun and don't let it get you down. Also, I would say start with 1-point first so you kind of get comfortable with it, and then move on to 2-point and 3-point. So I have these different folders for each of the tests. Just open up whichever folder you wanna work on. Use the My Box layer, draw your boxes, and then turn on the True Box layer, compare the lines, just like we did when we set up our own test. The only one that's gonna be a little bit different than the other ones is the 1.3 test with scaling. Here we're gonna worry about the length of the lines. This box and this box should be the same length in perspective, which means they're not really gonna be the same length. It's gotta get smaller on the box behind it. So you're gonna have to kind of intuitively see or think about how long you think that box would be if it was this far away in the distance. Trying to figure out scale and perspective is one of the things that really can mess up a perspective drawing, because if you make the box in the background or windows or whatever bigger than they should be, it's going to start making the objects kind of curve back towards the viewer, and it can create really weird effects. Okay, that's my perspective intuition challenge. If you do some of these, hashtag it on Instagram as perspective intuition so we can check out and see how well you did or didn't do. But remember, it's just for fun, so don't get discouraged. And if you want to see more videos about comics and art and webtoon and all that stuff, make sure you subscribe. And if you want to support these videos, maybe check out my store, get some of my graphic novels, t-shirts, or help support me on Patreon, or at the very least, go ahead and share this video with your friends wherever you share stuff with your friends. And always be sure to like, link, love, hug, and sub for more sweet, sweet goodness. Peace.